I cannot accept this union. It is not right for our family.
They say love is enough, but nobody ever talks about what happens when love meets rejection, when hope meets sickness, and when a woman chooses security over potential, only to discover too late that security was an illusion. Miriam learned very early that love was dangerous. She did not learn it from books or from church sermons. She learned it from watching women endure. In the compound where she grew up, women smiled with tired eyes. They laughed loudly in public and cried quietly at night. They stayed in marriages that drained them because living was worse than staying. From her mother, from her aunts, from neighbors who whispered their pain under the moonlight, Miriam learned one painful lesson: marriage was not romance. Marriage was survival. Her mother used to say, "Love does not feed children." So Miriam promised herself that she would never be foolish with her heart. She would never marry a man because of sweet words. She would never be among the women people pitied. She would choose wisely. She would choose security. She would choose a man who already had something to show for his life. That was why Connor did not stand a chance. Connor loved Miriam openly and honestly. He was hardworking, disciplined, and patient. He did not pretend to be rich. When he asked to marry her, he sat her down and spoke the truth plainly. He said he did not yet own a house, but he was building himself. He said his journey was steady, not fast. He promised effort, not magic. Miriam listened carefully. She did not shout. She did not insult him. She simply shook her head. "I cannot marry a man without a house," she said. Connor was quiet for a long moment. He did not beg. He did not argue. He only looked at her with eyes that carried disappointment and understanding at the same time. Then he said softly, "I hope one day you won't regret this." He walked away from her life without drama. Miriam felt relieved. She believed she had chosen wisdom over emotion. She believed she had escaped future suffering. When Sadiq entered her life, everything seemed to align perfectly with her beliefs. Sadiq was calm, settled, and confident. He spoke with certainty about tomorrow. He appeared to own a house. He talked about stability and plans that were already in motion. With him, Miriam felt safe. Love came gently, without fear or doubt. She told herself this was what choosing correctly felt like. But love never walks alone. It always brings family, history, and hidden storms with it. When Sadiq introduced Miriam to his parents, rejection came swiftly and quietly. His mother did not shout. She did not insult Miriam. She simply looked at her once and said, "This marriage will not happen." They said Miriam's background was unsuitable. They said she would bring suffering. They said Sadiq deserved better. For 3 long years, they fought. Sadiq pleaded with his parents. Miriam cried herself to sleep many nights. Many times, Miriam begged Sadiq to let her go. She told him she did not want to destroy his relationship with his family. She told him she was tired of fighting rejection. But Sadiq refused to leave her. Eventually, his parents agreed, but without joy, without blessing, without support. The marriage began with resistance. Days before the wedding, Sadiq fell ill. The sickness lingered longer than expected. Fear crept quietly into Miriam's heart, but the wedding still went on. She smiled for pictures, dressed beautifully, and prayed silently that she had not made a mistake. Weeks after the wedding, tragedy struck. Sadiq was involved in an accident. He survived, but something inside him broke. His strength never fully returned. Hospital visits became normal. Medical bills piled up. Savings disappeared. Friends who once visited stopped coming around. Miriam was pregnant. Suddenly, the man she married for security became someone she had to carry. Miriam became everything. She became the provider, the nurse, the cleaner, the decision maker. She woke up before sunrise and slept long after midnight. Slowly, love turned into duty. Her heart hardened without her realizing it. She stopped touching Sadiq. She stopped sleeping with him. Whenever he asked for affection, she replied with exhaustion, "I'm tired. I've been working all day." Sadiq suffered quietly. On his sickbed, he sometimes begged for small things. A hug. Conversation. Warmth. But Miriam had nothing left to give. Her love had been replaced by resentment. Their daughter, Zara, was born into silence. A home with two parents but no affection. Miriam carried everything alone. In the neighborhood, people assumed she was a single mother. She never corrected them. Then one morning, everything collapsed. Strangers knocked on their door and informed them that the house had been sold. They were given 2 weeks to leave. The truth struck Miriam like lightning. The house she believed was her security was never Sadiq's. She broke down completely. Miriam refused to move into a single room with a sick husband. Instead, she chose suffering on her own terms. She worked harder than ever before. She saved aggressively. She denied herself rest. Brick by brick, she built a small house with her own hands. Only then did Sadiq move in. Not as a husband. As someone she tolerated. Years later, Miriam heard Connell's name on the radio. He had become a billionaire. Businesses. Properties. A family. Miriam sat on the floor and cried. Not because she loved him, but because life had taught her a lesson too late. Sadiq grew weaker. He lived quietly in the house Miriam built, ignored and unwanted. He called for affection that never came. Zara watched everything. She learned silence before laughter. She learned resentment before love. She learned fear before trust. One evening, Zara asked a question that shattered Miriam completely. "Mommy," she asked softly, "if you suffered this much, why did you stay?" Miriam had no answer. That was when she finally understood that some choices do not only affect one life. They shape generations. Love should never be measured by possessions. Compassion is what sustains marriage. Silent suffering teaches children pain. And some consequences do not shout. They simply last forever. This is not just a story. It is a mirror.